Hey, how are you? David Bennett. Apologize, my hands are cold. They'll thaw out about May.
You're good.
Where y'all want me to sit?
Wherever.
Whatever you like.
I'll give you one of these.
Appreciate it. I'll return the favor.
Okay.
All right, so you probably have some type of familiarity if you've read some headlines recently as far as what we're actually looking into, discrepancies with the Sand Creek accounts
Sure.
and invoices and things like that. Obviously contacted by the district attorney's office
Sure.
here to get you just a circuit, as well as bidding and things like that and how that's done. So it kind of stemmed from the most recent meeting as far as the March 4th meeting at that time, in which some things were discussed regarding
Right.
what we're looking at right now. So you were saying that you had additional information that you might want to share with us.
Yeah, so I had a constituent reach out to me actually last Friday by the name of, I'm getting glasses so I can see. Sorry, I'm getting old. Jean Marie Deloach. This was last Friday, and this is somebody that I actually spoke with her as I was campaigning about a year ago. But she came to my office and actually wanted to talk about some zoning issues that she had had for a gentleman that she had worked with or works for. Or that's the pretense that she made an appointment to come speak with me, and she came by and she says, "Hey, so," and basically, the gentleman that she worked for was trying to get a piece of property that he owned on Cypress Lake Road rezoned so that he could build or have it rezoned so he could put a sand pit in there to dig dirt out of it.
Yeah.
And I think this was 2022. And bottom line was there's another commissioner named Timmy Rushing that his brother has a sand pit in very close proximity to this same piece of property. And there's another gentleman out there, and I can't recall his name right now, but has a sand pit out there. And she was saying that both of them used some influence to prevent this piece of property from being zoned to where he could put a sand pit on it. And, you know, she wasn't happy about it. She was asking what I could do. And I said, you know, that was something that happened before I took office. There really wasn't much that I could do. And, you know, I just told her, I said, the only thing I could really tell her to do is, you know, he could reapply to have it rezoned and go back before the board. But I said, you know, as far as influence that I have, there's, you know, you asking me to do something about it, that's almost unethical for you to do that.
Yeah.
And I said, as the chairman, I don't get a vote unless there's a tie. And I said, you know, if Mr. Rushing used any kind of influence, and she actually went on to say that he did recuse himself in the vote on that because of his brothers having some relation to that. I said, well, he did what he was supposed to do then. So, you know, what's the issue? And, you know, she's like, well, you know, she felt like he still went behind the scenes and spoke with the other commissioners. And I said, well, he may have done that. And I said, unfortunately, there's a lot of things like that I hear about around here in local politics. There's a lot, you know, proving those things.
That's what I was going to ask. Like,
Right.
is she
Or-
just speculating?
well, yeah,
thinking,
and-
or does she have knowledge of conversation?
Right. But she says, well, there's other issues here that, and I'm, okay, well, lay it on me, you know, because I do this all day. And I'm like, okay, you know, I should bill for therapy usually. So she says, well, you know, related to all of this, she says, are you aware of the relationship between Timmy Rushing and the Connors? And I'm like, well, I know that Timmy Rushing and Toby Connor are very close, and they vote together a lot, and I think they spend some time together outside of work. And she says, well, you know, Timmy Connor owns this company called Tarco, and he owns a sand pit out on Highway 46. Arcade.
Okay.
That sand pit, if you go out there, Sand Creek Construction, which is Clay Connor's company, if you go out there, there's a sign that says Sand Creek Construction there. Now, I know that I look at the invoices for Sand Creek Construction. It's not incorporated with the state. It's registered as an LLC, so you're not going to see anything like this from the Secretary of State. The billing address for it is Leafield. You know, it's a Leafield address. But there's a sign out there that says Sand Creek Construction at that sand pit. So there is some kind of business relationship between Clay Connor and Timmy Rushing. I don't know what it is. And, you know, she says, hey, there's something going on there. And she says, you need to look into this. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not a criminal investigator. And she says, you need to do a forensic audit on. Whoa, again, I'm not a criminal investigator. And I said, you are aware that there's a criminal investigation that is going on with Sand Creek Construction? Yes, there is. And I said, so why are you looking to me to do, you know, and I said, my job is not criminal investigation. But, you know, she says, something needs to be done about this. Okay, but it's not me. But at that point, when she left, I said, look, you told this to me now. I have a moral obligation. I have sworn an oath to report corruption. So, you know, at that point, I said, hey, I've got to report this to somebody. I had a meeting Wednesday with Robert Busby, the district attorney, that I already had. So I was like, you know, I'm going to report this to the district attorney. When I talked to him, he said, I'm not the guy. There's already an investigation. He gave me your number. So here I am. Now with this, she also told me that Timmy Rushing has another business. Harville Tree and Stump. And she says, it is not registered anywhere. And she says that he is a shadow partner in this business. If you call up Harville Tree and Stump, Timmy Rushing is going to appear. He is going to do all the estimates for your business or for anything that they do. And I will tell you that he showed up at our budget meeting on Tuesday in a truck that was clearly marked Harville Tree and Stump. She says that when Harville Tree and Stump comes and does your work, it's another group of folks altogether. Well, again, she tells me this, and I see the truck, Harville Tree and Stump, at the budget meeting. I get online Tuesday evening. There's nothing anywhere that I can find online as far as Harville Tree and Stump being a registered business, LLC, anything like that.
Does the city do, or the county, any business with them? Harville Tree and Stump that you know of, that y'all?
Not that I know of. You know, I've been in office for all 3 months here, you know, so, and I can tell you is, the only thing that I do as far as, you know, a contract is what, you know, comes across my desk as far as it gets voted on. I sign the contract after it's voted on.
So you never personally detected any kind of discrepancies either with the Sand Creek invoices yourself or anything? Everything is just brought to you and you're just relaying it? Okay.
And so again, you know, all this is really third-hand information that I'm getting, but it's enough stuff that I'm getting this from Ms. Deloach here. It's enough stuff that I'm going, it is third-hand, but it's enough that it was concerning to me that I was like, okay, well, I can't at this point ignore this and say this is rumor and speculation.
Right.
I feel like I've got to do something here.
Yeah, we appreciate you bringing it forward.
And does it have something to do with all this? I don't know. But at the same time, I feel like, and I don't want to make y'all go down a rabbit hole. Believe me, I don't want to get wrapped up in all this. But at the same time, I feel like ethically I have a duty to report something to someone.
You're right.
Tag, you're it.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want to ask him generally some of the other questions we had while he's here?
Lay it on me.
About the board itself? And how
Sure. So as far as the board of commission is concerned, you just kind of answered some of the questions during the statements you're making. You've only been there 3 months. Is there any kind of like infighting or anything like that you can speak about? Or I imagine it exists, with any kind of politics. But anything that might be associated with the case that we're investigating here.
I'm going to tell you that there is, and some of this I think is just small town politics in general. Mm-hmm. But, I'm not from Bulloch County. So, my family's from Wayne County originally. I went to school back in the 90s. I got commissioned in the Army. I was in the Army for 22 years. I retired and I came back here. I've been a professional vagabond my entire life. I don't have a home. When I retired, my wife and I decided to come back here because my family's either dead or gone from Wayne County. My parents live in Burke County next to my brother now, and I didn't want to live there, and this is about as close as I wanted to get. So we always liked it here until we came back. And I was perfectly content. I go up here, I ride around in a helicopter and go to work for 24 hours, and I'm off for 3 days, and it's my little Walmart greeter job. And I get a very nice pension from the military, and I was pretty happy just doing that. But I saw some stuff going on in our local government that I just couldn't ignore. And some of it I thought was just shady. I think some of it, again, what you know and what you think and what you can prove are two different things. And some of it I just felt like the easiest way to just do away with it was just you run people out of office and be done with it. Because you aren't going to prove it. And I'll give you the classic example. The guys I ran against were the former chairman. He has a flooring business here in town. And I had all kind of people that told me that with all the growth here in this community, if you wanted something rezoned, if you wanted a building permit, whatever it was in this county, if you wanted it done, you had to do your flooring business with him. And if you didn't, your stuff didn't get rezoned, your permits didn't get pulled, whatever it was. And I know for a fact that he had permits for, he had contracts with Georgia Southern, he had contracts with the county, he had contracts with the city. Everybody did business with him.
Yeah.
Now, I have a supporter that owns a flooring business here in town. He does wholesale and he does, retail flooring. And, I had a water line break in my house last spring. And I pulled the old flooring out, and it sat there like that until it still hadn't been replaced because I hadn't had time to do it. But he came out and gave me an estimate to replace the flooring in my house last month. I just haven't had time to mess with it. So, and he told me, he says, it's kind of funny because since you took office, my business has increased by about 50%. So, go figure.
Right.
It is, but again, it's coincidence.
Yeah.
You can't prove anything by it. But I can tell you that there were a lot of people that were, and it wasn't just people in the building trades, but bankers, lawyers, everybody else that did not want to see new blood come into the county commission here because a lot of people were making money off of the folks that were in office before us. I'll just leave it at that. So with that, when myself and Nick Newkirk and Ray Davis came into office, there were a lot of people that spent a lot of money to see us not get elected. There were a lot of people that, everyday folks that worked hard to get us in office. They voted, and that's basically what it turned out to. didn't have any money, but they voted.
Right.
So as far as Public Works providing these invoices that you guys have to vote on and things like that, have you ever noticed any irregularities before the Sand Creek account, since the Sand Creek account, or anything like that, as far as you looking at the page and the figures and things like that? Has anything ever come to question in your mind as far as what you're being handed from Public Works at all?
I know that Sand Creek has done business with the county for a long time before all this started. People have asked questions about this no bid contract since before I came into office. When I went to my state mandated training before I took office, I asked questions about it because it was one of those things. And basically what it came down to was, one, there was an emergency order that was issued. You know, hey, by that emergency order, they could issue a no bid contract.
Right.
So, and you know, I asked specific questions in my state mandated training. What about the fact that this is the person that has this contract is the brother of a county commissioner? And they said, you know, there's a fine line there in the fact that, you know, there's some ethical concerns. And they said, but, you know, it's not illegal for that to happen so long as there is a need for it, in the sense that other people cannot provide that service. And they said, but that commissioner should be very careful in that he needs to ensure that it is well documented that no one else can provide that service, and that service is very clearly documented, that all the billing is appropriate and things of that nature. I can tell you that I don't go and stare at those invoices. You know, there's not enough hours. That's my phone. There's probably a chicken loose. There's probably a chicken loose in my house. My chicken's free range. So,
Okay.
I don't stare at those invoices. There ain't enough hours in the day for everything that I got to do as a commissioner or as a chairman to stare at invoices. And quite frankly, we have people that's their job.
Right.
So, and I have to trust them to sit there and look at it. People not just in public works, but in finance, that sit there and they're looking at those things.
Is there a threshold amount that y'all would have to vote on during a meeting for any particular invoice? Do you know?
A set threshold
Yeah, 'cause that's
amount?
one of the questions we had. We're seeing, you know, like we got copies of all the
Right.
invoices, and we went back and listened to and watched or got some of the minutes and the agendas and stuff for the meetings, and not every invoice gets mentioned and voted on. And so we weren't sure if it's because it didn't meet a certain money threshold, or if there's an explanation.
I know
for
by
why.
policy there for like bidding on things, there is
I think this would have just been approval, like, hey, Sand Creek did this month, their invoice is for $21,000, do we vote to pay it?
I know for like a bidding contract, there's a policy that states a certain threshold. What it is off the top of my head, I don't know. Now I could probably pick the policy up and show it to you, but
Okay.
off the top of my head, I don't know.
Well, what we may do then is get a list of the ones that weren't mentioned in a meeting. We're just trying to figure out if that's normal business practice or if there's a reason why it wasn't discussed.
Now, I can tell you that looking at these things after the fact, and what I've told folks is that, especially the ones that have come up in question, because Ray Davis, you know, he's shown some of these to me, and he's like, look at these, especially the ones that came up there, because there are a bunch of them that have come up where there's a bunch of documentation where it's normal, you know, hey, this number of hours, this truck, everything's good, and then you start having all these ones that came up around March where it's just a truck went out and it's just bare.
Right.
And, you know, Dink got up in the meeting and he's like, well, I've got more information for these. And I was like, and what I told Dink then was, Dink, this stuff goes out to the public as part of those minutes, the public should see all of that information. Don't, and he's like, well, I have it. And I said, and I understand that legally all you have to do is sign the paperwork, and that's good enough as far as the law is concerned. I said, but when that goes out to the public, they want to see more than just your signature. Give them what they want to see. Don't hide it. And that's been one of the biggest things that we ran on, is that we're going to be transparent and show people this is where your money's going. And I'm like, with something like this where people know that this is Toby's brother, and they think there's something shady going on because they already think that Toby's shady as hell anyway. Show them that there's nothing shady going on.
Well,
They think you're tied in with him.
Did he give you a response for why he wasn't included?
And he's like, well, I just didn't think about it when I did it. I just wasn't thinking about that.
Has things changed since that conversation?
Well, I mean,
Can you tell if it's...
He had all that stuff in there with him for this last meeting. So, I mean, and I want to give people the benefit of the doubt and think that, okay, well, maybe he just messed up. I mean, and the reality of this is, Deke ain't perfect. And I'll go as far as saying that I don't think he's the sharpest knife in the drawer. Quite honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that he was retired, that I knew that he was retiring in June, he probably wouldn't be in Public Works right now. And now, I've said this in public, and I've told plenty of folks this. There's a lot of people that complain about him and the way that he manages all of Public Works. And I think there's some legitimate complaints there. The other side of that coin, though, is since in the last year with these 3 storms that have hit, he has done yeoman's work as far as the documentation and going back and making sure that the county is reimbursed for all of the work that has been done with FEMA so that we can recover that money. And I tell people, I'm like, he saved this county millions of dollars. So now, does that discount the fact that, and I can tell you in the last few weeks, is there something shady going on here? I don't know. I just don't know. Because I'm going to tell you, my gut tells me Timmy Russian's crooked as a damn snake back. I used to think the jury was out on Toby, but the two of them, they're right there together, and I'm of the mind that if you lay with dogs, you're going to get fleas. Right. So there's something here that don't smell right to me. And I'm of the mind that, again, knowing and proving is 2 different things. And I'm a boy nurse. If you quit breathing, I know how to fix that when it starts coming to looking at all these receipts and financial transactions and things like that. I don't know everything I know about it, but some of this just does not pass the smell test for me. And I've told them, I said, I think that we're at the point where I feel like it just needs to stop with this no bid. I think it just needs to be bid out. What concerns me more than anything is that in the last few weeks that I've discovered that where they've said, oh, well, we couldn't get enough trucks, from other people. There are other trucking companies that are like, well, I've got trucks and I've offered them to the county. And they said, oh, no, we don't need them.
Do you know the names of those businesses?
Ellis Wood. One of them, he's an investigator in the DA's office.
McNeil.
McNeil.
So basically you're saying they were willing to do business with the county,
Yeah.
but the county, I guess Public Works, isn't leading everyone to believe that there are no trucks available.
You know, they were like, oh, we couldn't get enough trucks, or, you know.
Because that's another question that I had. I know it's a no-bid contract, but was there some sort of understanding about what Sand Creek was to do, how they were going to do it, and how long they were going to do it for, and like a monetary amount that they were going to need
See, I
per
don't,
haul or per truck or whatever? Because we do see that they, I guess they started with their own trucks, but then they are contracting somehow with other people's
Right.
trucks to fill the void. And so was all of that done without the board's knowledge and approval? Or was there never any set parameters or guidelines?
and see, that's what it looks like to me. What was done was it was just,
Get the job done however you need to do it, and there were no questions asked, sort of thing?
that's what it looks like to me it was done. And there was never a contract per se done.
Right.
It was just, as far as a scope and a parameter, it was just make it happen.
Okay.
And, you know, because again, this started in September, October, and it's just been ongoing since then.
Right, and you would think at some point there's a conclusion to it.
Right. Now, I mean, are we still doing storm cleanup? Absolutely. Are we still doing road repair? Absolutely. It's like damn herpes. It just never goes away.
But at this point, would it be safe to say that Sand Creek is the sole person benefiting from all the work that still needs to be done? Like, say Mr. Ellis came forward and said, I have trucks, I'm willing to work on this many roads. Is that a possibility for him, and it still fall under the disaster cleanup storm stuff?
I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Because part of Dink's explanation is that he has to take what's available at the time that, you know, all this work is needed. So Sand Creek, you know, being somewhat local here, you know, is more than available. So that's why they get so much
Right.
of the work. So was it that Ellis Wood and McNeil weren't available then, and that Sand Creek
And
was
see,
the only option?
again, these are things that, and I don't want to sound like I'm straddling the fence or weaseling out of it. You know, I'm not there
Yeah.
to answer those
Right.
questions. And, you know, if Ellis Wood and McNeil, they've got trucks out on the road doing something else, and Dink says, hey, I need 3 trucks today.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, I got my trucks out on another job. You know, and
But
and
Dink's the only one making those
right.
calls to check. So
Maybe Sand
yeah.
Creek is saying, okay, well, yeah. And
Yeah.
the way that Dink has said it to me is that Sand Creek is like, whatever's going on, you know, I need 4 trucks. I'll get you 4 trucks there today. Which, you know, to his credit, hey, if he's willing to do that, and he's doing it below market price,
Yeah.
you know, that's a credit to him because it does help us out. You know, and I mean, I don't understand why he would do it because I mean, there's doing it for the flag and, you know, there's,
And it's a lot of work. to-
right. But I mean, that's,
Logistics and stuff.
but the thing I don't understand is what's the incentive of doing that if you're subcontracting at below market?
Right, or your profit.
What's the incentive to do that? You know, because if you're doing something below market with your own truck, that's one thing. But now you got to go to somebody else.
Pay them, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm doing this at below market, so you're losing money up front already. Well, now I'm telling you, hey, I'm going to rent your truck, but I'm going to do it at not just below market, but I got to make money doing this. So
Yeah.
I got to get you to get your truck below.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Something doesn't pass the smell test there,
Right.
and I can't figure it out.
How about any of the other commissioners there, Anthony Simmons? Would they have any knowledge regarding, have they ever raised any questions or concerns regarding the Sand Creek accounts at all?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Gotcha. That's all I got right now.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming down.
I mean, it's pretty much just been Ray and Nick
Yeah.
you know, asking the questions, going, what's going on with this? And I mean, a lot of that's just been, you know, people in the public going, what's going on? So,
We'll try to figure it out.
I wish you the best.
Do you need this copy back?
No, sure.
Appreciate you coming down.
And, you know, I asked her when she talked to me, I said, look, I'm going to talk to somebody about this. And I said, they're probably going to call you.
Oh, do you have
okay?
contact information for them? Perfect.
I do. It's on
Is it on here?
That's her number right there, if you can read my pathetic handwriting. I gotta put my glasses on.
Gotcha. All right.
Jean Marie Deloach.
And she was good with
Mm-hmm.
that idea of
Yep.
us reaching out to her?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll walk you out.
All right, well, I hope that wasn't a waste of your time.
No, not at all.
Helpful.
Should be in pockets.
Have a good one.
All right, y'all take care. Yes, you too.
We're recording now at 11:43 a.m.